if you want to be promoted, try to do the job you want to have. It's about being proactive. It's about not waiting when things happen. It's about really pursuing what you want to do and what you want to achieve. And then you make yourself the only choice to be actually promoted to that role. How I'm leading the teams is like I am definitely big champion on why are we doing things, that I want people to understand why we are here and what they are doing, how it contributes to the outcome.
Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Tomas Stvrtecky, a senior strategic manager with nearly 2 decades of experience across multiple industries, including retail, banking and finance, job search, advertising, industry reporting, and payment systems. Throughout his career, Tomas has made a lasting impact at well-known organisations such as Monster, IBISWorld, Telstra Health, MYOB, Car Sales, Coles, and most recently with Civica Asia Pacific. His expertise lies in IT with a passion for driving outcomes and continuous learning.
I had teams that would have very low engagement scores, and I would be working with them and really creating the culture and environment that stimulates the change.
What's the secret to that?
I think that my secret is that I am really transparent person. I support you where you need the support, but I also give you the kick in the butt when you need the kick in the butt as well.
Let's join us in this insightful conversation with Tomas and explore his journey, experiences, and key takeaways from his impressive career. So, Tomas, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
You've got, from my research, an incredible resume with some great organisations on it. And today I'm really looking forward to, I guess, understanding that journey of how you kind of got to where you are today, and how you've built that impressive career in engineering.
Okay.
I also feel like today's going to be a lesson for me in pronunciation. I sat there with Google pronounce yesterday. I got Stvrtecky.
It's actually called, I'll pronounce Stvrtecky. There's
I'm never doing that.
Sh in the beginning. Yeah.
Do you know what? I had that like a sh, and I was looking and I was thinking, Google's surely got that wrong. I can't see an H. I can't see a C.
Because in Czech, I'm originally Czech, so you have the special characters on top of the S and the Y in the back. So
okay.
Stvrtecky.
Yeah. There you go. I'm never getting that one, but
no one does. But it's everyone's favorite sport here in Australia. Trying to pronounce my surname, So
it's a good conversation starts today.
It is. Yeah.
That's right. And on pronunciation, I saw that you began life in Brno. I want to say Brno.
Well, I'm originally from České Budějovice, which is the city of the original Budweiser Budvar, the beer.
Wow, there you go.
But then, I moved to Brno, where I studied university.
Yeah, okay. So tell me a bit about sort of life growing up in the Czech Republic. Were you sort of into tech as a kid?
Yeah.
When did that kind of become a feature in your life?
Yeah, so looking at all the young people around me, I feel now a little bit older, and like when I start talking about the technologies and what I was growing up with, it makes people feel like you're ancient, So, I think that I was always interested about technology and new things in technology generally. Yeah. I got my hands on the first computer when I was, I think, 11 or 12.
Yeah.
I bought, with my family helped me both do the first computer, which is like some Intel 286 megahertz, 286, and it was like 4 megahertz or something like that, and like absolute like total potato computer that you would call nowadays. And it was a great learning lesson because back then there was no internet, anything. You had to figure out things you need to learn. So I talked with my classmates, and trying to learn everywhere from some magazines and books and stuff what was available.
Yeah. And
gradually I was a kid, so I like to play games. Computer is for computing, not for games, So, I got into it more and more, and I think that really triggered my interest to continue with that type of career because I like to solve problems.
Yeah.
And I encountered many in those olden days. Nothing was smooth. You had to really dig deep to understand what the hell you are doing. And back then I didn't speak English as well. So, was reading some error messages and I was like, what is this as well?
Oh, wow. Okay. So the code or the actual context was in English as well.
Yeah. So, So that was challenging, but
so you're sitting there with like a pocket dictionary, just
pretty much. Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, what the hell does it want from me?
Yeah. Cool. Okay. That's an interesting way to learn a different language.
Yeah.
And a language in computing. There's like a trifecta kind of coming together. And you mentioned, so you went to university in Brno, and I was doing a bit of research because I'd never heard of this place before, and I saw it described as I think I'm pronouncing this right, the Moravian Silicon Valley.
Yes.
It is essentially like a tech hub.
Yeah, correct.
But it's actually the history. I went down a rabbit warren of researching,
Nice.
And it used to be a textile city. That's apparently what it was known for historically back in the day, and then it somehow became this tech hub.
Yeah. I'm not sure much about the history in that area, but yes, there are like other brands in the surrounding cities, like Batya, which is like a shoe brand. There are stores here in Australia as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you're right. Like Brno is pretty much the tech hub in Czech Republic, like a Silicon Valley, as you said.
Yeah.
And I was the only one from my class actually who decided to go there.
Okay.
Because it was just too difficult, and everyone else from my class went rather to universities that were focusing more on kind of like a electrical plus engineering.
Yeah.
And this one was like really pure hardcore informatics and focus on math and stuff like that. So I don't know if I regret it or not. It was brutal, but it was an important life lesson I got there as well.
Well, I think if you've got the grit for it, and it kind of suits your character, I think brutal's good, right? As in, you want to learn, you go and immerse yourself around the best people with the top knowledge, and it's only going to lift you up in terms of your own abilities.
Yeah, no, that's right. But I think it was hard. Like I was young and stupid, I like everyone, I wanted to party and enjoy life. And then like this school really was something that like you need to take seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the entry requirements for that were quite challenging?
Yeah, like getting there was challenging, but also surviving. I think I think that the numbers were pretty rough. Like the first year, I think it was 600 or 700 starting us, and if I'm not mistaken, like it was less than 50 who actually finished with master's degree.
Yeah. Wow.
So
sounds more like West Point Academy or something. For
it's definitely not that like you start and you finish. There's lots of drop-off rate as well on the way.
Yeah, right. Okay. So where do you think? It's quite a deep question, maybe. Where do you think that kind of inner grit in you came from? That determination to push through.
When I started at the university, I'm not sure if I should be saying it or not, but I just really want to enjoy my life. I wasn't thinking about it in the way that like I'm adult, I should study, prepare myself for work. I was like, no, that's still very far in the future, and I want to just enjoy the college life. Yeah, and so I actually dropped off as well from the university. I failed my English exam. Yeah. And so I dropped off the university after I think 3 years or 3.5 years. I dropped off, and I had to return back.
Yep.
And after a year, when I actually had to start working, so because my family couldn't support me anymore, and I had to start working. So, and when I returned back, I found out as well that the whole study plan changed. And I had to actually redo lots of stuff that changed to get enough credits again to move forward.
Yeah, right.
So that extended my study, and I think I was slapping my face to actually get myself in order and actually take it seriously.
Yeah.
And also at that point, I also started working full time. Like in that break, I by accident end up in a tech job,
You say by accident. What does that mean?
My girlfriend back then, her uncle was actually a professor at the university, and he had a company as well. So he allowed me to just try it out if this is something can work for me. And as I said, I like to problem solve, so I picked up things extremely quickly, and I started as a VB6 developer. And I think in 3 or 6 months, we changed stack to .NET, and pretty much .NET became my life after that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I never thought about myself as a programmer. Like, we had basics of programming at school, like the uni, but the uni was also special in the way that they didn't teach us a specific language, and it was by default. They were focusing, because they didn't believe in a specific language, it's because they change.
Yeah.
So what they were teaching you were principle of programming languages, which I found kind of like back then again useless, because I thought, like, I know nothing. Like, how the hell I'm supposed to apply this, right?
Yeah.
But later on, many years later, I was like, this was actually great, because it allowed me to think more sort of in a generic, abstract way about problems than being isolated in one language and just thought that I'm limited with this language and its syntax and its capabilities.
It's interesting. So, look, again, presumably through your career now, through Europe and then in Australia, you've hired people from all around the world.
Yeah.
So is that a kind of consistent trend around the way that informatics or technology is kind of taught in universities, or is that kind of more specific, do you think, to the way it was done in the Czech Republic?
I think it was just specific for that uni.
For that uni?
Yeah, because all my other classmates, they were learning Java or C# or these type of languages, or C++ straight away.
Yeah.
I wasn't. So I had to learn it on the job.
Yeah.
But because I understood the principles, then kind of like it all clicked.
Yeah.
And I never considered myself, like, I end up being a programmer by accident, right? And I became very good at it as well, which was surprising for me. Yeah. Because, like, I like logic, I like problem solving, I think about the problems and I understand it, and I like also doing stuff that actually works in some sort of elegant way. So it actually was some of my calling. But over my career, I met many people, not many, but like handful, and they were like different level, exceptional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I learned a lot from these people, but I always knew that I'm never gonna reach the level they had. Their level of thinking and abstraction and the way how they thought about the code and how they were able to educate themselves and how they were able to solve the problems was just different.
And a couple of questions I had were, firstly, given the intensity of your university experience and clearly the quality of the institution that you went to, did that become like a recruiting hub for companies? Essentially, to look at those people.
Yeah, and that's like many of the professors and like the staff at the uni, they would have their own businesses, so they would be recruiting people, right? So what happened to me was something that probably happens to some other people as well. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know that this is possible. I was more kind of like, okay, I need to go and look for a job somewhere on some job board or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, again, I was young and stupid and really didn't know how the world works. But it was a great experience. Like I spent in my first job like 3 years. It was a smaller company, and I can get flavor of lots of type of work and things that you do in a smaller company.
Which interestingly leads me to my next question, which I was looking, but that was Allegis.
Yes.
And when I was reading on your LinkedIn profile about that role, there was lots of different aspects. There was the development, programming. There was also a bit of analyst work.
Yes.
There was some project management.
Yeah.
There looked like there was some interaction with customers, particularly around SAP.
Yeah.
And I thought that's really interesting. Your first kind of proper job, let's call it, was very broad.
It was.
Despite you were doing the programming and so forth. Do you think that set you up better for future success than just coming out and being a pure coder?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think that it might scarred me a little bit as well. Yeah. I think that after the job, to be frank, I made a decision that I will never willingly work with SAP ever again.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. As I said, it was good in terms of the exposure that I got the opportunity to try various things, and it was kind of like I was doing everything. Like, it wasn't that I would be a programmer and then I would be analyst and I would be that. I was doing everything at the same time. Yeah. So, and like customer exposure. So like that's something, again, I never sort of really like to have this type of interactions or do some pre-sales and conversations with customers, or even sales conversations, where you need to sell something. It's not my thing. Yeah. And it was good to realize it early in the process, that like I need to force myself into it. It doesn't come naturally.
But I think there's a lot of merit in that broad approach at the start, because for that reason, you can test things and kind of go, hey, do you know what? I don't really like sitting here and doing pre-sales or trying to close deals, or I don't enjoy the project management, the frustration of change. And as you said, you're a perfectionist, right? And you like problem solving. Yeah. Well, I'd argue change is never the right job for you, because you're never going to feel accomplished in that. Whereas I look at when you're writing code, I've never written code, but my impression is that you get instant feedback. It either works or it doesn't. It does what you want the code to do, or it doesn't. And if it doesn't,
sometimes
broadly,
sometimes
you go and you unpack and you try and find the bug.
That's right.
But I can see how just in this short space of time we spent together, that would appeal to your nature.
Yeah, but again, I enjoyed it. I like the part of it where I could solve problems, and I was actually happy. Like when I did something that was really complex and was neat in the way how I wrote it, I was really proud about it as well. So very happy with that. But going back to what I said before, it was just I never felt that I'm good enough. I guess I had this sort of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
In that role, that like I know that there are people better than I am, and I never felt that I could be as good as they are.
But I think it's interesting, isn't it? I think as we go through life, when we come, where you're at maybe primary school, and then you go to high school, and then you go to university, and then you go into the workplace, and our kind of sphere of awareness gets bigger and bigger. And I guess as you move through that, you start to realize there's people out there that are much smarter, different skills, different contributions, and you can either be afraid of that and be fearful, or you can embrace it and kind of lean into it. I think there's kind of two options. I think you've got at that point in life. But I think it's quite, because my sense is, as you said, you were the only person from your high school that went to that university. And you haven't said this, but this has made me kind of connecting the dots. You obviously were a kind of fairly top performer academically in high school.
Yes.
And then so suddenly you go from kind of a big fish in a small pond to a not so big fish in a much bigger pond. Yeah. And that's kind of as life progresses, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the high school or gymnasium, it was pretty brutal as well. Like it was a gymnasium focusing on maths and physics.
Yeah.
So we had like in my year 3 and 4 there, we had like a maths, I think 8 times a week.
Yeah.
And it was brutal, but it was great at the university that I actually had absolute easy time first 2 or 3 years where I actually literally didn't learn anything new.
Yeah, got it. So you just repetition of your knowledge, which, if anything, just reinforces that learning, right?
That's right.
And after you left Allegis, you went to the I think I've got here, the Home Credit International in Prague.
Yeah.
So
no, that one was in Brno as well.
Oh, sorry, apologies.
Yeah, that one it's still a massive company focusing on pretty much credit, like providing loans to people. Yeah, so that was my first exposure in sort of finance industry, it was pretty interesting because it was very large company, so very big difference with the job I had before. So I had to learn how to operate in this more corporate environment. It was a global company as well, so we had customers in Europe and Asia. It was very interesting. Back then, it was still very it wasn't definitely agile at those times. So there were like a very rigid processes. Like we would do releases overnight, like that we would end up at work 10 p.m. and start release at midnight and having pizzas and stuff like that. So
did you enjoy that? You looked like you did.
It was fun. It was fun. Like it was something new. Like like I was young and like it was exciting. Like that we are doing something cool. We are getting it to the customers, and we have to do it overnight as well because we don't want to disrupt things. So it was a new thing for me, and like it was interesting.
Because I think about like the present day, there's a lot of pressure in Australia right now, for example, around right to disconnect. Mm-hmm. And almost encouraging people to work less, and that may not be true, but you know what I mean, as in contain work-life balance and all these kind of things. But actually, I think some of those moments in life, they shape you. You learn. They're enjoyable, right? They're not. You couldn't sustain that for forever. But I still think that those moments are really important as part of a career. Yeah. And it worries me that with these right to disconnect laws and things, that those things start to dissipate.
But like nowadays, it's about the flexibility as well, right? So it's kind of like in the role I have at the moment, we have offices in UK, so our time is flexible, either early mornings or late evenings, But you adjust your schedule around it. It doesn't mean that you have to work 12 or 15 hours a day.
Yes,
you just sort of move things around the way that it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you kind of enjoy that sense of being in a team, though, working towards an outcome?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, was that something that you knew about yourself, or something you discovered kind of through work, I suppose?
I feel like for me, the sense of accomplishment is always around when we get something done that actually provides value.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, not just value, but like you can see that it's making a difference. Yeah. So when I was just a developer and sort of just would be working on something on the side, sometimes you forget what the bigger picture is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And back then it also wasn't about it like that there was too much transparency or really understanding how we are contributing to the bigger picture as well. So sometimes it felt a bit kind of like, what am I doing here? But I think that nowadays, or at least that's how I am driving the like how I'm leading the teams.
Yeah.
Is like I am definitely big champion on why are we doing things, that I want people to understand why we are here and what they are doing, how it contributes to the outcome, and or why things are important, or especially when things need to change.
Yeah.
To understand and explain why things are changing. It's not just because I told you so. Like there are valid reasons why it's happening and why we need to deprioritize one thing and do something else instead.
Where did that evolve from in your leadership style? Was that something that you resonated naturally, or something you learned through leadership development coaching?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember. I had several good leaders, right, over the years, and I think some of them had this mindset where they were really super transparent with me. I really like honest conversation and transparency.
Yep.
Yeah. So I prefer that, and that's how I work with my team, and that's what I'm also expecting from my leadership as well. So I have experienced it firsthand, and sort of like I can work with this. I like this. Yeah, it's not that like we are here pretending or bullshitting each other. That's not the type of interaction I want to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. You tell me how things are. You tell me if things are bad. You tell me if things are good. But we have this conversation without sort of withdrawing information.
You've worked through your career in different cultures. As in, obviously, you started out there in the Czech Republic, but after this role, hopefully I've got this right. You then moved to Prague.
Yes,
and that's I think when you worked for Monster, which is a sort of a global company again on a UK project.
Yeah,
you mentioned that in that role as well, you're working with companies in Asia. Subsequently, you moved to Australia. Do you think what you've just described is in terms of your style is kind of again innately from your upbringing in the Czech Republic, and have you experienced that same, I guess, direct handedness in the rest of the world? That's a big question.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. No, I get that. And, funnily, I work with people from similar backgrounds as I have, not just from Czech Republic, but sort of the area. And we all share this type of traits. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was funny that like some of the manager I had as well, like he was like, when he was interviewing me and he learned about me and my personality and how I talk and interact, he was like, I wasn't expecting anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was looking for it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, you might be right that this type of open and candid conversation, or the way how we interact, might be ingrained in us. So from the cultural background, how we are. Yeah.
But it also probably leans into your kind of personality interest around logic, reason, etc. Right? It kind of naturally throws through into the way you're going to communicate with people too.
That's right.
And that's just being, I guess, authentic to yourself. How big was the step for you to move to Prague? Did it feel like moving to a major city by comparison to kind of where you've been?
No, Brno and Prague, they are like not the same size, but Prague is not a giant city. Like it's a million people city, so it's not super large. So I was moving Prague because there were more opportunities, especially with these companies that are like international.
Yeah.
So Microsoft had a headquarter there, and other as well. So I ended up in Monster, which was great experience. Monster is the U.S. job search, and like I never worked on the U.S. website. I was working. I spent the time working there on the projects for UK government, which was interesting as well, because I never had an idea that that company would do that. Like we were making like a bespoke solutions for the government to employ the army vets.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Which was very interesting because like you have someone who spent their whole life in army, and then they finished with army, and they still have the rest of their life ahead of them, but they don't have experience. Yeah, they have only army experience. So we were sort of creating different algorithms and sort of questionnaires and ways how to get information from those candidates to be able to actually then find the right jobs that would fit their profile.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. And I guess it makes a lot of sense though to outsource that project to someone like Monster, who's building essentially the same vehicle, regardless of the application. I was reading an article maybe last week, and it was talking about when the Medicare was rolled out in the US, and the website that they contracted, I think it fell over on the first day. It couldn't take more than maybe 6 users. Became a major problem, and they ended up just kicking it over to a bunch of people in Silicon Valley and saying, "Can you fix this?" And they did it in a fraction of the time, because of, again, looking for the right people that understand the frameworks behind this stuff is quite important. How did and you kind of touched on this in your previous role, but working in those kind of large corporate environments, did that kind of bring out the best in you? Did you struggle to adapt being in those situations?
I guess the best answer is probably I don't mind. I think that both have some pros and cons. I think in a smaller company, you need to sit multiple chairs and really stretch yourself.
Yeah.
Where in these bigger corporations or organizations, you have pretty clear boundaries, and you can focus on your work. And at that time, that was, I think, important for me, that I really want to focus on me being a developer and getting better in what I'm doing. So I didn't mind.
Yeah, okay. And you spoke kind of early on as you were coming out of university, you kind of, let's say you fell into your first job by circumstance.
Yeah.
At this point, were you being a little bit more strategic in thinking about the organizations you wanted to attach yourself to?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was...
and that hence the move to Prague, bigger companies.
Yeah.
getting a recognized global brand like Monster on your resume as well. It's I talk about this often actually on the podcast, but I heard something last year from Scott Galloway. He's a professor talking about this and saying the best thing you can do for your career is move to a big city and work for a big company. The chances of progress and being around more people is going to advance you quicker. It's an interesting trend I observe actually in a lot of people that come on the show is at some point they've done something along those lines. And that kind of felt like your Scott Galloway moment when I saw that on your LinkedIn.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then from there, I guess what I was thinking about, you're kind of 5 years into your career, you've got your degree, you've got your master's. And I guess that's what I was thinking. Were you at that point, and you maybe answered this before, but were you thinking, this is what I'm going to be, a developer in engineering? And you kind of touched on it. You kind of realized that maybe you had a broader skill set, let's say, than just being the best developer, and you had other things to offer. How did you kind of reach that? And that's when you started to go towards the leadership. But how did you kind of recognize that, or who kind of gave you a nudge in that direction?
I think that I actually didn't know what I want to do. I was pretty comfortable being a developer, and there was still lots of things to learn. At those days, C# was evolving pretty much every year. There were always new technologies, new frameworks. So there was always something to learn and do. And I enjoyed it to some degree. Not as much if Microsoft rolls out something and then a year later they shut it down, that it was like a dead end. That wasn't cool. But overall, I sort of was okay. I think that for me, the move to Australia and there was move to Australia, having family here as well, like starting family and becoming adult, like a true adult, probably back then, was something where I start thinking about things that what I should actually do. Like I don't want to say that there's nothing to be wrong being a developer. I know many people, I met many people in my career that has been developers or senior developers or principal developers throughout their career, and they are happy with that. That's what they want to do, and that's where they feel comfortable, and that's where they are very good at as well. And they don't have aspirations to go any further than that because they like what they are doing, and that's fine. So what I'm trying to say is that the path I chose is not the path that can fit other people. I mentioned it before. For me, main driving points were I met some good leaders here in Australia, which I probably could have appreciated a little bit more at the time when I was working with them. But reflecting on those experiences, I learned a lot, and they showed me how good look like, what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing, what is the good process to really put things a little bit more in perspective, that it's a little bit more than just cutting code and sitting in the corner. And then I was really frustrated sometimes about the impact. I had different opinions on things. I would like to do things different way. I would like to make broader decisions than in just a smaller remit I would have. And then I started asking myself, so what I'm supposed to do here, how to achieve that. So then, okay, you need to become a tech leader, do something like that to have at least some level of leadership that you can start steering things. And I think that I was truly being able to achieve that in my job with Telstra Health, where I was lucky enough to work on a Greenfields project there, which was really cool because I never before done a Greenfields project. So I learned heaps, and the team I worked with was really great. And it was really, really cool experience, and really great exposure, not just to coding on the Greenfields project, but also to work with the team, have some leadership opportunity there, work closely with the product owner, that type of interaction, product and engineering hand to hand. It was really, really good, a starting point for me. And back then I still didn't fully understand this stuff. But it really set some foundations for me.
It sounds like that kind of systems thinking, let's say, was more of the next problem for you to focus on, as in how do you get a team to collectively solve a problem, as opposed to how do I sit here and write code that fixes this part of the problem. And the fact that you're kind of thinking beyond the immediate code that you're writing into the wider solution, probably just again naturally leans into your kind of personality. And you spoke earlier about as a leader, that start with why, and constantly working on the why. It sounds like you've also got a clear sense of your own personal why in terms of what motivates you. And you're absolutely right, by the way. Some of the best developers are probably the worst leaders. And that's what makes them a great developer, because they can singularly focus on what they're trying to do over here. But it sounds like you kind of figured out, kind of not early on, but relatively early on, that actually what was motivating you was kind of putting you somewhere else. You mentioned obviously that at this point is when you came to Melbourne. What made you sort of relocate to Australia?
We came here just for sort of holiday and visit, and I think it's a silly reason, but in Czech Republic people are, and I do hope that I'm not going to offend the whole Czech Republic.
I think your passport's about to be retracted.
Yeah, I know. But everyone in Czech Republic is a little bit more negative and pessimistic, and you go to a supermarket and the cashier doesn't even look at you or say hi. It's kind of like a little bit gray. Yeah. And then we came here and beach and ocean, and everything is sunny and green, and people actually say hi, smile at you, say how are you, we don't say how are you. So I was like, this is nice. And and then we started when we returned back, we started looking into if we can move here, how? And there are these skilled migrant visas. So I was eligible for it. Again, the sticking point was English. It's a thing that will carry on with my life. So I had to score, I think 7.5 from IELTS on all 4 topics, and I was pretty comfortable with English back then because I was working for Monster and pretty much were speaking English on a day-to-day basis. So I was like, should be okay. Wasn't because of the writing part. You are supposed to write a specifically structured essays using smart words and all that stuff. I was more focusing on the content rather than how I structure the sentences, not necessarily grammatically being incorrect, but using the smart words. That was the thing for them. So I had to repeat it several times, and on the 3rd attempt I said, if I'm not gonna make it this time, it's not happening. But it worked out, so I got the points I needed, and then it was very, very quick, because they were originally telling us it can take several years before the visa is granted and stuff like that. I think that we got the visa in 2 months.
Wow.
And the visa was also limited in the way that you have this date by you have to move in, otherwise it's gone. So it's cool. I think that literally it came on the same week as I was actually getting married as well. So we were getting married, my wife was already pregnant, and we got this and kind of cool, now we have to move. So we sold everything, we packed everything into luggages, and we came here.
Wow.
And my wife was 7 months pregnant, and starting a new life.
Did you have a job organized before you? No.
I tried, but I got 0 responses. And finding a job here, even with being like having 8 years of experience and being a senior developer was pretty difficult. I had this faux pas when I went to one of the first interviews here with a recruiter. Back then, 2013, I rock up it was like hot day, 36, 40 degrees. I rock up in shorts and t-shirts to the interview, and like there was this nicely dressed guy sitting there looking at me like, what the hell are you doing here? Yeah. And then we start talking, like he understood that I have all the skills and everything needed. And then he was like, can I just give you an advice? Like you should dress up for interviews. It's like, we don't do that. Like we are in tech. Why the hell am I supposed to play that I wear a suit to an interview if I'm applying for a dev job, right? Yeah. Like that's changed. That's not the case anymore. But it was very, very funny back then. Because like he almost like sent me out from the door when he saw me.
It's crazy, and you think that's what 12 years ago. How much has changed in that time? You'd probably get away with it now. No one would bat an eyelid. It's interesting, isn't it? Like I'm migrated here a couple of years after that, and went through a similar experience. Actually, I'd had a number of years' experience in the UK, and I was surprised when I got here. You had to kind of cut your teeth. You had to reprove yourself to a certain degree to be able to go forward again. Yeah. Was there ever a moment you kind of thought, shit, I'm not going to get a job here?
We took it a little bit easy because like I just wanted to find a place where to live, buy a car, just set up everything that because we were supposed to have a child soon. So, and we had some money that from everything what we sold. Like I had flat back in Czech Republic, so like we weren't struggling. It was kind of like we came here with the idea either it will work out or not, and we will just take a year holiday here and then we will come back. That was the worst case scenario. So that took a little bit of the pressure and stress. That it was kind of like, no, I have to make it. Like I was still under the pressure because I sort of felt that I have to as a husband and to be father, to be a provider. So you're absolutely right. Like I was told that as well in those interviews. Like some of the recruiters, they were pretty good and pretty frank with me that like you need to understand that you're now in Australia and things work a little bit differently here. And whatever experience you have, we don't care. I was like, but I work for Monster, and Home Credit and all these companies which are global and worldwide known. I was like, nah. So I secured the first job. Definitely wasn't the thing I wanted or the salary I wanted, what I researched I should get. But
fit on the ladder at that point, right? It kind of gets things going.
Yeah, and they told me frankly, like, it's your foot in the door. Like, you just need to prove yourself, and that's it. Like, I still don't feel it's fair or was fair, and I frankly don't know if it's still happening. I hired many people over the years that it was the first job I would hire them, and I treat them absolutely fairly because I had this experience, and I didn't want other people to have this type of experience. So,
it's a curious one, right? Because let's say there's a lot. That's not the majority. There's a lot of people in Australia that are migrants here, and they've been through the same thing. Yeah. And you kind of think that over time it would normalize to people realizing that people need to start. Yeah. But it is a reality, and I every day I get messages from people who are in process of applying for their skilled immigrant visa. They're in the process of wanting to move to Australia. And I always say to them, look, realistically, until you get boots on the ground, until you're here, your chances of getting a job are going to be quite slim. You need to get here. You need to get in front of people and start to build that. I think when you're kind of overseas and you're trying to do that remotely, that's even tougher for people. And I think that's the advice I always give: is be prepared to come here, have a period of time where it may not work, but you will get something. And once you do, you'll be off and running. But it can be a slow start.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I think it took me 2 months to get started. Yeah, but as I said, I took it a little bit easier, so I wasn't.
How did you find, once you then got working, the differences between working in Australia and kind of working in the Czech Republic, kind of culturally? And
it's similar, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like the work culture is pretty good, and the general sort of workforce laws are very, very similar to what is in EU. So I felt okay. A little bit less holiday, like we had a little bit more days. I think we had 25 or 30, so 20, but it is what it is. But in terms of the day-to-day, it was fine. Yeah, like I started working. It was a tiny team at the first job I did. And
with IBISWorld, I think?
Yeah. I focused on writing some, like a new platform, putting it together. And then, a couple of months later, I had a conversation with my manager about sort of where this is heading and what options I have. And I decided to start looking around. And to my surprise, one of the recruiters I initially spoke with when I came here, like, I don't know, that was like 4 or 5 months ago, he just called me on the day accidentally as well. And he's like, hey, I still have your number. Are you available? Like, I have this opportunity, and I think that you would be a great fit. I was like, sure. And he was like, by any chance, do you have a suit or something like with you? I was like, nah. I was like, that's fine. Can you actually do interview today at 6 p.m.? I think it was like that day, 6 p.m. interview. I was like, okay. Yeah. So I went there. And I had a really great conversation with the hiring manager. Like, there was no one else, obviously. It was just two of us. I think that we spent talking for an hour and a half. And he pretty much offered me the job on spot. Yeah. So I resigned the next day. And I started my second job. I got what I wanted. I was happy. And that one was pretty good because I learned in that organization a lot.
That was BCC ad systems,
which it was especially around delivery and management and sort of this type of agile delivery and Scrum and stuff like that. Back in Monster, we worked in that fashion as well, but I think that this one was a little bit more mature. So it was really, really good experience, and so plenty of learning there.
Yeah, okay. And then from there, you went on to Telstra Health, which is into that kind of dev lead role.
Yeah.
So was that your kind of first step into a team lead type role?
Yeah. It was kind of like I happened in that role. Like, I was hired as a developer on this project, but then sort of we needed to hold it together. So I just naturally stepped up to that role and start leading the team and stuff like that. So there was Greenfield's project, and like it was really, really good learning as well. I think that all these experiences, or what I've done, there were a couple of things that I started realizing as well, that it's about being proactive. It's about not waiting when things happen. It's about really pursuing what you want to do and what you want to achieve, and going above and beyond. Yeah. And like, it's a little bit cliche to say it because like people don't want to do above and beyond, but like, if you want to be promoted, try to do the job you want to have. Yeah, it's very simple.
Yep.
So master what you are doing and do more to what you want to be doing.
Yeah. Interesting.
And then you make yourself the only choice to be actually promoted to that role.
Yeah.
So that's what I did and what I put my effort in, and got the experience to have direct line management experience. I got a couple of people reporting to me, which was another sort of layer to understand and start talking to people, and really there were some tough conversations and challenges to overcome as well, which is different layer of learning, and that really prepares you more on the path of becoming a leader in the organization. So I was, at that point, I was very comfortable with my technical skills, maybe too overconfident, and I was very immature in sort of people leadership, and I really just trying to find a way. And I was sort of, let's say, mid-level confident with delivery and agile and everything. That was where I was at then.
So how did you sort of build on and develop those leadership skills?
So back in Telstra Health, I was lucky to be part of one of the programs for emerging leaders, which I think it was called Interpret Leadership, something like that, from Simon Dowling. He's a speaker and coach in terms of the leadership, and I think it was 3 or 4 or 5 days type of very interactive course.
Yeah,
and I went to that course pretty much just. I've been in many of these type of trainings. I sort of like someone will tell me something and I'm supposed to take something away, you know. But this one was different. It was very interactive, lots of hands-on experience, and I went there with a little bit probably more open mind than I would usually have as well. I think that was differences. So I actually took a lot out of it, and I was trying to, and I think it was, if I remember well, it's many years, it was also actually broken down into, it wasn't like 3 days in a row, it was like broken down. So we were supposed to apply what we learned, and then we would have we would learn more, we would apply again. So it was like really hands-on type of approach.
With other people across the Telstra Health business?
Yeah.
So outside of tech, sorry.
Yeah, no, it was within the tech, I think. Not sure. But it was, I think, 10 or 15 of us there back then. And like all of us were very similar level, like literally emerging leaders. Yeah. And so this was to help us to get there. Yeah. And I really took a lot from that. And I think that...
Well, can you remember, what would, if you were to think back off the top of your head, what would be the takeaway that you took from that time?
I don't think that I can put anything in words specifically, but it's more like a concept.
Okay.
Yeah, like around what leadership,
like your identity
about,
as a leader.
Yeah, how to talk to people. Like Simon Dowling wrote a book. Can't remember the name of it. It's called Work With Me. So all of us got the book as well, which I read several times. Yeah, so it's really how to approach people, how to talk, how to make them listen, how to get the idea over. Yeah, because I would personally struggle as well to express myself, and I would become frustrated. And obviously, when you're frustrated and angry, then like the conversation goes anywhere. Yeah, so a little bit of sort of maturing in the way how you interact, how you communicate, how you get your ideas across in the way that people listen. Yeah.
I came across a quote a couple of weeks ago about communication. It said the biggest failing of communication is the idea that it took place. And I think that's what people forget is someone thinks they've said something or they've conveyed an idea, but the other person hasn't heard it.
Yeah.
They've heard it differently in a different way. Well, and it sounds like what you kind of learned through that time is you say an identity or a philosophy around leadership that you could build on. A kind of framework to then go and test and adapt and go and put some concepts and no doubt go and interact with someone in your team. Does that work? Does it not work? And you kind of refine. And
exactly.
I think through observations, you then start to define your own style of leadership. And you obviously got pretty good at it because from there you went to MYOB as development manager. So that, I'm assuming, was a step up from what you were doing and probably started to give you more people leadership.
Yeah. So I went to MYOB as a development lead, and then I was promoted to development manager in short time. I chose MYOB because my wife actually worked there. She got the job there as part of the Develop Her program, which was like to help women to get into tech. Because my wife changed her career from economy and finance, and she went to technology as well. And I heard lots of good stuff from her about the MYOB and the processes and practices and everything, and I really felt something that I want to be part of. So I was fortunate to join, and MYOB was great. I really enjoyed working in MYOB. I got absolute full buy-in in terms of the company vision and what we are trying to achieve. And I really liked working with, or like being able to be part of the team that can get exposure from former CEO Tim Reed back then. It was really, really cool. MYOB had really mature practice in terms of agile and delivery, and that definitely shaped me and helped me as well. There were many trainings and many internal learning opportunities that I have done there.
Interesting.
That really refined me making me probably evangelist in the way of sort of doing certain things. It was really good experience. It was a pressure cooker experience. That's one of the mentors I had there, the GM of Tech. He told me that the experience I went there through was a pressure cooker, because I was part of the payments division, which was like a newly created division, where we would be we had payments gateway. That was the main product, and that gateway already had customers like Vodafone and others. So it was big transformation, massive SaaS cloud product, SLAs absolutely insane, so very, very high pressure, high stress job, and lots of challenges as well to solve. So it
sounds like the perfect place for you.
It was accelerated learning. I have to say that the level of stress was extremely high.
So how did you balance that?
I think that to some degree I did not. I think that definitely took a toll on me. It wasn't sustainable. But I was still trying to make the best out of it, because I really did enjoy working in MYOB. Over the years, I sort of got more tired of that. And then I got really great opportunity I was approached by car sales for a general manager role of technology there. And
I was curious with that, because you've gone from like a dev lead up into dev manager, and then you GM of tech, and that's happened relatively quick, right? It happened over maybe 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm sure it didn't feel quick at the time, but when you look back retrospectively, you obviously were building your brand as a good manager and a good leader of people. Was it something that you found your real passion in sort of through that time? And how was that kind of stimulating your motivation to learn?
I like working with people or teams. I like to make teams that hums, that really are cohesive, and people have high engagement as well. Yeah. I had teams that would have very low engagement scores, and I would be working with them and really creating the culture and environment that stimulates the change and shift of the mindset, where the engagement changes rapidly.
So what's the secret to that?
I think that my secret is that I am really transparent person. I will tell you things as they are, and I'm here to have your back. And I support you where you need the support, but I also give you the kick in the butt when you need the kick in the butt as well. Yeah. So I'm generally supportive. I'm trying to make sure that the teams know and understand what we are doing and why. I'm here to help them to be moving. So if there are any sort of issues, blockages, or friction, or anything going on, I'm there. I'm there to shield them to some degree from all the noise that's coming too. And I think that's what works. And obviously the individual approach with people. So having one-on-ones, understanding each person as an individual, not sort of looking into it as just a pool of people. I absolutely hate with passion when people are talking about people as resources. It's an absolute triggering thing for me, and people still do that. And I hate it. I always like people. Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? It doesn't seem to be a term that's used as widely in Australia, but in the rest of the world, it's known as human resources.
Yes.
When I came here, I came across people and culture for the first time, and I thought that's a much better label.
Yes.
It's a bit similar in recruitment. You come across recruitment companies called human capital, and I think, God, that sounds like slave trading or something. Like, it's awful. It's absolutely awful as a kind of concept.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There was something. So the way you were describing that resonated with what I would kind of describe as psychological safety. It sounds like that's what you've created for your team, a safe environment where there's trust. People fail. That's failure is natural, right? And I was reading something again recently about this, where in a psychologically safe environment, you make more mistakes, or there's more mistakes because people feel comfortable to report them. That's a toxic environment. People don't say, I've made a mistake, or the finger of blame gets pointed, and you kind of get into this cycle. But it sounds like that's really what you've kind of built your leadership brand around.
Yeah, no, definitely. I am definitely keen that people feel safe in where we are. I encourage them. I have open door policy. Like I might be now layers above them, and they might not feel comfortable to approach, but I've been always either creating opportunities for people to ask questions, or like I'm always approachable. Like send me a message on Slack or something like that. And so there are people who use it. There are people who don't feel comfortable doing it. But for those who probably don't feel comfortable, I'm always trying to find different ways, more anonymous ways, like using Slido in meetings, just to ask questions if they don't feel comfortable to put their name on it.
Yeah, that's great. And you went from there to, again, another massive step up to Coles. And I was thinking, is there probably many bigger jobs than the group engineering manager at Coles in that sphere? There's probably not. And I think I read you had 4 tribes, 150 plus people. That's a lot of responsibility.
It
talks about
it was a big role.
The stress at MYOB. Sorry, how did that stress relate in terms of having?
So from MYOB, I went to car sales, and then from car sales to Coles. That role was a large role. It was large role. I was responsible for the underlying commerce engine powering the Coles Online. It was challenging role in many ways. Firstly, various projects, like the commerce engine was one thing, but I had another tribe focusing on the robotic warehouse automation and stuff like that. Release and environment and DevOps as well initially. That was taken away when we did a little bit of restructure. There were many challenges, especially around workforce, like having distributed workforce, working in predominantly remote settings. That puts a spin on the whole leadership as well. Like it's way more complicated to keep people engaged and create culture if people are not coming to the office. And especially if they are distributed, and they are distributed not just in Australia, but internationally as well. And vendor management, because part of the workforce was through the vendor, part of the workforce was through contractors or different contracting agencies here in Australia. So it was like a permanent employees, contractors, vendors. It was really a lot for me to learn. But again, very great exposure to all this, because that really helped me to learn more in all those sort of directions and understand various bads and goods about those engagements. I made a huge focus on sort of digital transformation from the delivery point of view, because when I started, there was really like the main thing that the hiring manager told me there was that the teams are not delivering. We have 150 people and we are not delivering anything. Yeah. So that was my mission for first several months, to really pull things apart, understand what are the problem points there, and really make some drastic changes as well in the way to get things back on track as soon as possible, because that team, or those teams what I had, they were the center point of all the other teams that we have. Yeah, we had other areas in the business, like a big tribes as well. The engineering was massive, so like we were super, and because we were the commerce engine, we were center point. Yeah, so everyone wanted piece of us. Yeah, and that was a really, really stressful environment, because if there's no delivery, that means that even though there is on the paper capacity, there is no capacity if you are not delivering anything. Yeah, so I really needed to find a way how to quickly turn it around, how to improve the situation. So I worked with the delivery to really understand some metrics, data. There were issues in terms of really not using Jira accordingly. So Jira hygiene very poor, stories weren't sliced, just the standard stuff, so getting into it, putting the process in place, being diligent about it, explaining why we are doing it, I think that back then it was just too much, and I didn't have the leadership when I started. Like, I hired a couple of people on the go, but back then what I did was that I picked one team and I turned it around, I think in 3 or 4 sprints. I closely worked with the team.
Got it. Set the tone, be there pretty much on every day, and you could see how quickly it turned around. Yeah, and then I could use the team as an example, because everyone was like, we don't believe in this, and this is all bullshit, and we don't want to do this. Like, if you do that, it will work. Yeah, because you have evidence here. So then, and I hired a couple of people from my past as well that I could trust, and I brought them to the business, and they were part of my leadership team. So then they were able to continue that momentum, and I think in 6 or 9 months, the things got in way better shape than it was originally. It wasn't perfect, but it was in way better shape. We had lots of issues with quality, with incidents, and that all sort of went down over that time as well. Yeah, great. Because I was going to ask, like, when you come into it, I guess an opportunity of that size with that many people, and then you're faced with there's no output or delivery as you describe it. How do you affect that change? Because that's a lot of people you're needing to kind of repoint. But it was interesting the way you described that, the way you literally just kind of went straight to the coalface and showed and did as you expected things to be done, to bring that to life, rather than kind of theoretically drawing that up for people to try and follow. Because
sometimes, from experience, when you prepare a nice shiny presentation and you get everyone in the room and you force them to listen to you for an hour, you usually don't get the outcome.
Correct.
Yeah. So I prefer some sort of hands-on approach. I think that the presentations, they are there just to give you the direction, but then you need some reinforcements on the day-to-day. Yeah. So I was also lucky. I had some really good people in the team as a sort of agile coach or delivery leads and stuff like that. So they were able to help with that on the day-to-day.
And I guess that's the flip side of being in an organization like Coles. You're going to have resource. Right. That's as in, I know we don't like that word, but you're going to have you've got cash.
Yes.
You've got money to be able to spend to get things done. You're not kind of scraping the barrel to pull things together. It's interesting, by this stage, you've worked for Coles, Telstra Health, MYOB, car sales. It was kind of a mini kind of who's who in tech in Melbourne. You've accomplished a lot, from the migrant that turned up and in your shorts in your interview and no one would give you a job. I'm interested, as you worked through that, were those opportunities coming about because you were getting tapped on the shoulder? or were they kind of coming about because you were kind of targeting specific projects? Or
sometimes like some roles I was headhunted for, some roles I would be sort of looking actively and trying to find the right thing for me.
So last year you joined Civica, which I think is a software company.
Yes,
that'd be the best description. So what does that role look like? As you're now the development director there, so are you developing new products, advancing products? What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, so Civica is a large global organization with headquarters in UK, but we have our APAC region as well, and we are providing software in various government industries. So I'm part of the local government, so creating softwares for local councils in Australia. That's sort of the main area, but we are also in health and education sector.
Yeah, got it. So almost back to your Monster days. Ish, kind of, as in that was for government. You're developing a job platform.
Yeah.
So it's kind of going into local government where they're developing. They have the need for different.
Our software is pretty much doing everything. Yeah. So it's very, very complex enterprise solution that is taking care of anything that you can imagine that the city council would need to do. So from paying rates to registering your animals, stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. So does that role now see you kind of almost back in that pre-sales, customer facing?
To some degree, yes.
Gone full circle.
To some degree, but we have pretty large team, so I don't have that many of those exposures. Like I'm not shy of having them nowadays, but it's for me the main differentiator for this role was that I really wanted to work somewhere where I can make impact, to repeat myself, which this role definitely given me, because I can work in the public sector, and I do feel that the software my teams are working on actually makes difference, not just to a corporation that is using it, in this case city council and government, but to the citizens. Yeah. So I do hope that was one of the reasons that I really wanted to work in something that actually matters this time, and so I'm pretty happy with the role where it is and how it is and what we are doing.
Yeah, great. And it's interesting through your career, if I kind of put it into different eras, so to speak, you kind of really focused on developing first your core tech skills. And then it seems to me then you've kind of started to broaden that into around kind of some of the philosophies around agile and waterfall and kind of the actual delivery aspect. And then you've kind of led into mastering the people leadership kind of side. It kind of strikes me that probably the next thing in your career is maybe that kind of strategic, more commercial kind of business application. Would that be fair? Is that kind of where your ambition lies?
Yeah, and that's like this strategic aspect of the role that's already part of the role I have now, or partially what I had in Coles as well, because big, large sort of programs of work that you need to work on. And I enjoy it. Like I like to play video games, and I play games that are predominantly focusing on this type of strategical decisions and strategies in general, like building factories, making decisions, how everything fits together, planning, and understanding different inputs, outputs, how things work out.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you must have played Sims or something like that as a kid with those kind of games?
Yeah, I did play those as well.
Yeah, great. We're going to go to the cards and kind of mix things up a little bit. So I'm going to spread these out. And then I'm just going to ask you to, I always joke, you can tell I'm not a trained croupier, but if you could just pick three at random.
Okay. 1, 2, and 3.
Alrighty. And if you flip them over and just read the question and then give us your answer.
All right. So first one, what does work-life balance mean to you? Very good question. It means a lot. It means a lot. I think that it is important, and I'm glad that we are in Australia, to be honest. Like I've always thought going to US to work there, but like this question wouldn't work there at all. So yeah, it means a lot, and it means a lot not just for me, but it means a lot for the people that work with me as well.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that everyone has the right level of balance. In the real world, what it means for me is that like I'm really not big person or in favor of working 9 to 5, because we are a global business, and like I personally can't work 9 to 5 because I need to work outside of this business hours anyway. So I built my workday around it. Yeah. So I want to take my kids into school. Cool. Then I do work. Then I do a little bit more work, and then I have meetings in the evening or early in the morning before school, stuff like that. And the same applies for everyone else that I work with as well. Like I am rather output oriented. When I'm doing brief with the new employees or new managers or something like that, I tell them like, I'm pretty flexible. I'm happy with whatever you need. The only thing what I care about is that you get stuff done, and you are meeting expectations that we agreed.
Yeah.
How you do it, that's your problem. Yeah, I'm here to help. But if you do it at 7 p.m., if it works for you, I don't care. But if obviously, if that's affecting the team, you know what I mean. Yeah. So I'm very, very flexible.
And so that's a good point you make, though, because I hear a lot about this around work-life balance, and there has to be a balance as well between what's good for the individual and what's good for the team.
Correct.
It can't just be all about the individual.
Yes. Yeah.
Because somewhere something's going to give.
Yeah.
And that's the flexibility that I often talk about within the work-life balance. Is that you have to be pragmatic and flexible to other people, not just yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Like if I work early in the morning or late at night, and there are some actions to take, I might send emails or schedule emails to be sent in the normal business times, or messages on Slack or something like that. Or if I send a message now, and if it's not a incident like a P1 or something like that, then like I'm not expecting people to respond.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not like I send you a message at 8 p.m. and you need to respond at 8:01. Yeah, that's not my expectation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. I sent an email to a bunch of the team last night about a project we're working on. And it was more and I actually started it by saying, I'm just dropping this out now to get this off my head while it's in my mind. I'm not expecting a response tonight to me, to the client, to anything like that, just to be really clear.
Yeah.
And then put the message. And I think if you establish those boundaries, or you're clear on those boundaries, I think it's fine. I could have probably been smarter and just scheduled it to go at 8 o'clock this morning or whatever, but I just thought, well, I'll just caveat this, because I don't want a bunch now flurry of replies coming, because people feel obliged to come back to me. So anyway, sorry, second question. At what time of day do you get your best work done? I'm a morning person. Yeah.
I'm a morning person, always has been.
Your whole life, even as a kid? Yeah.
Yeah. Even as a kid, I was waking up at 6 a.m. and preparing for school. Yeah. So yeah, mornings. I love doing productive stuff in the morning. Like sometimes I put some sort of placeholders in my calendar, like especially if I need to prepare for something and do something, I can get into the flow and just get stuff done pretty quickly.
I've read somewhere that apparently there is a genetic predisposition to being a morning or a night person.
Okay.
I didn't read too much into the detail of the study, but it was talking about the work-life balance. It was kind of saying, sometimes that we're kind of hardwired to 9 to 5, but actually, if you're kind of predisposed to get up at 6 o'clock and you're the most effective, why not work at that time?
Yeah. Like I always, I think again somewhere in some article it was said like that the worst time to have a meeting and like to want to get anything from your teams is 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And like I was in some workshop a couple of weeks ago again, and it was like 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Like everyone was like already half sleepy. Like I was like, great, let's do it.
Well, you think about it, everyone's kind of fatigued from the day that that's happened. Plus, they're probably thinking, what do I need to get done before I can finish up today? Yeah. They're not really focused on the conversation that's happening. So,
yeah.
Last question. What have we got?
And last question. I think it's a similar one. We can maybe take another one if you want. Early bird or night owl? So early
definitely
bird.
Going to pick another one.
All right, let's get another one. Are you an early adopter of technology or a follower in your personal life? I'm early adopter in my personal life.
Do you own a pair of Apple goggles?
No, I don't, but I have Meta Quest 3 and I have like the X Real Air glasses and stuff like that. So yeah, I am, my kids love it. I have 3D printer, we are doing all this stuff.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Is that always through your life? You've always been quite, Yeah,
always. Like I love this stuff, and like now I want to buy a foldable phone, but like I'm still waiting for the right one.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. Before we wrap up, a couple kind of really similar type of questions to these.
Yeah.
So my first question is, what are you most proud of in your career?
Okay. I think when I was in car sales, I was able to really manage to build really great culture and great teams we had there.
Yeah.
I had really good relationships with the team I had, and the teams were just absolutely humming. Like they were getting stuff done in a pace. Like it was really, really cool. Yeah, it really pleased me. Like. And I turned it around. Like it wasn't like that when I started, and like where we got together over the years, that was great.
It's interesting, isn't it? When a team culture is really humming, sometimes it's hard to kind of quantify. Or it's a feeling more than a physical objective experience, if that makes sense. You can measure it with engagement surveys and all this, of course, right? But you know when you're in that zone, and it's working. And I think, yes, that's interesting, because that's what you're most proud of, is actually essentially creating that environment for that to happen. Yeah, great. What, do you have any career regrets?
Yeah. I think that my personal identity, that I'm sort of very straight and candid, sometimes caused me lots of troubles. Not everyone is ready to hear things as it is.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I really regret it. I think that that's who I am and how I communicate. But it definitely made my life more difficult than it should have been.
Two things on that, which I'm interested in. First one, if you come across the book Radical Candor.
No, but I heard about it.
Yeah, I 100% recommend it to you, more so because I think it fits so nicely with your philosophy about transparency and honesty. But what Kim Scott, the author, also speaks about, for that to be true, you have to be able to show people that you personally care about them. And if you do that and you achieve it, and it's genuine, you can be radically candid, because people know where that feedback's coming from. They know it's not this kind of overt aggression towards them of saying you're bad at this, because they understand you're doing it to better people. But and I think you've naturally, interestingly, through our conversation, I feel like you've arrived at the outcome of radical candor. But I think you may enjoy that.
Thanks for the tip.
The second question I was going to ask is, based on what you just said, do you think at times you were a bad employee?
If I'm a bad employee?
If you were at times to a manager, would you have been a pain in the ass for your manager?
Probably.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that I would be like really, really problematic. I don't think that I was, but I definitely would have my opinions, and I think that that's what I was saying, that I probably didn't fully know how to get my ideas and opinions across in the way that it would resonate with people. And I think that's something I had to learn as well.
Yeah, got it. So that influential skill. Because I think that's often the issue, isn't it? People have the ideas, but the articulation to influence, and not just to articulate, but for those things to happen.
Yeah.
That's where it can be a blocker or a barrier that some people never really kind of transcend.
Yeah.
I believe that we're shaped by the feedback that we receive. And I'm always interested to ask this question, which is, what's the most significant feedback you've received in your career?
Significant feedback in my career. I think it was about my behavior, like that I am coming too strongly across, and that I need to think a little bit more about what I say and when I say it as well. There's a right time and the right place when to say certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. This is kind of last worky type question. If you had a singular piece of sage advice that you were going to give to the next generation of tech aspiring talent coming through, what would you say to them?
I think, there are many smart people in the industry, and everyone thinks that they are the smartest person in the room, and no, there's really a lot people that are probably smarter than you, and it's important to be humble about that and not sort of fall into the trap that you know everything and you've been there, done that. I think that's one thing. The other thing is, as I said before, people always are interested in how to progress. And that's what I'm saying. Like, everyone wants, like, can I get this job and can I get this salary? Like, no, why? Like, what have you done to be able to actually demonstrate that you are suitable for that role? Yeah. And then people like, but I'm just this and I do that, and like I'm limited in my current role. Like, are you? Did you go and ask your manager what else you can do? What other responsibilities you can get? Yeah. So there's always way how to get exposure to other stuff. And it's like being proactive, and like, yeah, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna suck. But if you do the hard yards, at least you have something to talk about in the interview process.
Yeah.
Because the interviews, I've done hundreds or maybe thousands of interviews over the years. And if people are not able to back up the experience, if they're just talking from the textbooks, then it's just, there's no substance. It's very hard to believe it. Yeah. So be uncomfortable, do the hard work, and then reap the fruits of your labor later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a phrase, you're either earning or learning. And I think that I come across that all the time in tech. If you want to earn, go and learn, as in like, go and apply self, because then the fruits will come. Yeah.
And like with learning in general, like this role, like maybe every job nowadays, but especially in tech, you never stop learning.
Yeah.
If you stop learning, you fall behind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I personally just look and stuff, like I'm now super excited about AI, like heavily investing into AI, into learning into AI, and I'm doing like my own I have my own AI server at home, and stuff like that, and playing with it and doing different AI agents and automation. It's like, I like it, I like this stuff, but at least I'm also using it as a learning opportunity for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really encourage everyone to keep learning, whatever floats your boat, whatever you feel is valid for you and for your future career. It never stops. Yeah.
Yeah, great. On the subject of learning, I know you like to read.
Yeah.
What's your kind of recommended read?
I'm like, lately I've been focusing more sort of like a more personal growth type of books. I'm not gonna speak about those, probably people not much interested, but in terms of the leadership and development, I read pretty much most of the books from Simon Sinek. So Start With Why and that type of books. Maybe not the latest one, but like just stick to the core. I think that Simon became a little bit too much public person nowadays. But Start With Why is a good one, and it's a really good one for a leader. I think Dare to Lead from Brené Brown is a good one as well. It speaks about vulnerability as a leader. Like, you need to put yourselves out there and be vulnerable to be able to lead. I think that it's something, because people think like, I need to be this tough person and like just lead, just loosen up a little bit.
Yep.
And then maybe last one, book called Rise from Patty Azzarello. She's successful Silicon Valley CEO, and pretty much talking about her career and experience.
Yeah.
It's pretty inspiring book, like pretty brutal. I listened to it as an audiobook. She narrates it. She has very, very interesting voice. Like I had to get used to it for some time. Like it was a little bit triggering me, but the content is great. Yeah.
Awesome. Look, thanks for sharing your story today.
Yeah, no worries.
Being so open and candid. I think that probably describes you in a nutshell, actually, of who you are. But look, again, it's a unique story specific to you. I think you've achieved so many incredible things and been on such a great journey. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
It was very nice. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for listening to Tales from Tech Titans, and be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcast. If you'd like to get more insights about tech careers, then check out the Ember, that's EMMBR LinkedIn page for the latest updates, articles, and engaging discussions.